If your spouse passes first, what do? Most people don't have a clear answer. And when the moment comes, it arrives like a storm, quiet on the outside but crashing within. Whether you shared 5 years or 50, the loss of a spouse reshapes your entire world. The silence after their passing is not just quiet, it aches. You wake up and they're not beside you. You reach for a voice, a hand, a presence, and there is only air. People might offer support, but no one prepared you for the way time suddenly stretches, for how even simple tasks become mountains. This video isn't about documents or funeral arrangements. It's about you. It's about what you need to do first, emotionally and practically, to survive those early waves of grief. Because they do come and they come hard. I'll walk with you through 7 gentle, essential steps. Each one drawn not from theory but from real stories, real hearts, and from the truth that healing begins with being seen, being understood. No step will erase the pain, but together they might help you take your first breath again. And perhaps, in time, begin to live, not just survive. Let's begin. Step 1. Let yourself feel before you try to fix anything. When your spouse dies, the world doesn't just fall quiet, it falls silent. But it's not a peaceful silence. It's the kind that seeps into your bones. The kind that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. The little things go first. The morning coffee that now stays half full. The sound of the newspaper rustling in their hands. The soft clearing of their throat in the next room. Suddenly it's all gone. Not just the person but the rhythm of your life, the invisible thread that stitched your days together. And in the middle of that loss, a strange instinct can take over, the need to do, to organize, to clean out drawers, to make phone calls, to plan services, to stay busy. Anything really to not sit in that crushing stillness. But here is the hard, gentle truth. Before you fix anything, you must give yourself permission to feel. Feeling your grief isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's love that refuses to vanish without a voice. You may be tempted to say, I have to be strong, especially if you have children or family looking to you. But let's redefine strength for a moment. Strength is not putting on a brave face while your heart is breaking. It's allowing the tears to come when they need to. It's admitting that today hurts more than yesterday. It's whispering I miss you into an empty room without shame. There is no right way to grieve. No checklist. No timeline. Some days you may want to stay in bed. Other days you may surprise yourself by laughing at an old memory. Both are sacred. Both are valid. Take Margaret, for instance, a kind, soft-spoken woman of 81 who lost her husband after 47 years of marriage. In the first few days, she kept herself busy saying she was fine, folding clothes, making tea, clearing out closets. But every night, she would sit by his empty chair and stare at it in silence. Not because she missed their conversations, but because she was pretending she didn't. And one night, she finally let go. The tears came like a storm. And afterward, she said it was the first time she felt like she could breathe again. The pain didn't vanish. But it had room now. Space to soften. You are not broken because you cry. You are not fragile because you can't face the day. You are not failing at grief. Grief is not something you get over. It's something you learn to carry, slowly, gently, over time. But first it must be acknowledged. If you bury it too deep, it doesn't stay quiet. It shows up later as anger, as numbness, or even in the body, through illness or exhaustion. So if your spouse has died, today, yesterday, or years ago, and you're wondering what to do first, pause. Sit with the loss. Let yourself cry. Talk to them out loud if you need to. Hold their sweater. Smell their pillow. Don't rush. Don't apologize for loving that deeply. You don't need to have it together. You don't need to explain your grief to anyone. You just need to feel it. Because in doing so you begin to heal. And healing always begins with honesty. With a quiet, tearful, courageous honesty that says, "This hurts more than I ever imagined. And I will not pretend otherwise." Step 2. Reach out before the loneliness takes root. In the first hours and days after losing your spouse, the world can feel strangely full. People call. They bring casseroles. Neighbors stop by with flowers or kind words. There is movement, noise, concern. It feels like you're wrapped in a temporary cocoon of care. But then just as quickly, it fades. The calls slow down. The meals stop arriving. The doorbell grows quiet. And you're left with a silence that feels heavier than before. Not the peaceful kind. The separating kind. That's why this step is so important. Don't wait for the loneliness to find you. Reach out before it settles in. Now, this doesn't mean you need to have long conversations or invite people over for coffee when you can barely make it through the day. It simply means, let someone know you're here. And that you could use a little company, even if it's quiet company. You don't need to explain your grief. You don't need the right words. Sometimes just sending a short message, would love to hear your voice, or picking up the phone when someone calls is enough. It opens a door. A small one, but a precious one. Because the truth is, even people who love you deeply might hesitate. Not because they don't care, but because they don't want to say the wrong thing. Or they're afraid of intruding. So when you make that first move, no matter how small, you're giving them permission to love you the way you need right now. Let me tell you about John. He's 81, a gentle man. Lost his wife after a long illness. At first his phone rang every day, but he couldn't bring himself to answer. Not because he didn't care, but because he didn't want to talk about it. Not again. Not with every caller. So he let the phone go quiet. And eventually the call stopped. It wasn't until a kind neighbor knocked on his door weeks later that John realized just how deeply he'd begun to drift, without even noticing. That knock, that small act, changed something. It reminded him he was still seen. So John made himself a quiet promise. Just one phone call a day. One real voice. Even if it was short. That simple act became his lifeline. And slowly the fog began to lift. Not because the grief left, but because he was no longer carrying it alone. You see, grief isolates. But connection heals. And the effects of isolation aren't just emotional. They're physical too. It can affect your sleep, your blood pressure, even your memory. It happens quietly and it happens fast. So please, even if it feels unnatural, especially if it feels unnatural, reach out. You don't have to talk about your spouse if you're not ready. You can talk about the weather. The neighbor's cat, a recipe, anything. What matters is the presence. Knowing someone is out there, hearing you, sitting beside you, or just holding space for you. And if you're alone geographically or hesitant to call family, there are options. Many towns have grief support groups. Local churches or senior centers often offer companionship programs. Some volunteers will simply sit with you. No expectations, just kindness. Reaching out is not a sign of defeat. It's a sign of courage. It's saying, I matter enough to not carry this alone. In the early days after loss, your mind is foggy. Your heart is aching. And your body is under stress. Surrounding yourself with care, even in the smallest ways, is like scaffolding. It holds you up while you figure out how to stand again. So if today feels heavy, call someone. Even if you don't know what to say. Because you don't need the perfect words. You only need a moment of connection. And that might just be enough to get you through the day. If you're still with me, just type step 2 in the comments. Not for me, but as a small way of saying, I'm still here. I'm still trying. And if this helped you feel a little less alone, subscribe and stay close. There's more comfort coming. Step 3. Gently begin organizing the critical documents. When your spouse dies, it can feel like the world should come to a halt. As if time itself ought to pause to honor the enormity of your loss. But life, in its relentless way, keeps moving. The mail keeps arriving. Bills still show up. Notices are issued. Accounts become inaccessible. And just as you're learning to breathe again, you're asked to navigate paperwork, cold, official, emotionless, while your heart is still learning how to beat without them beside you. That's why this step, though difficult, is necessary. You must locate and begin to organize the critical documents tied to your spouse's life. It may sound like business, but truly it is a part of love. It is how we protect what they worked so hard to build. It is how we honor their memory, with care, with clarity, with steadiness. You'll need to find a number of items. The will, if one exists, insurance policies, bank and retirement account details, marriage and death certificates, property deeds, pension or military service records, utility bills and account information, And yes, you may need to face all of this while your mind is foggy and your body aches with exhaustion. That's why so many delay. They say, "I'll get to it when I feel stronger." But the hard truth is, some decisions can't wait. Some deadlines arrive before the sorrow has even fully sunk in. Take Walter, for example. He's 79. A kind soul who lost his wife unexpectedly. She had always handled their paperwork. When she passed, he didn't know where anything was. The insurance policy? It was in the bottom drawer of her sewing table, tucked under old receipts. By the time he found it, weeks later, he had already used his savings to cover funeral costs and other bills, not realizing that support had been available all along. Walter didn't fail. He didn't forget. He was just grieving. And grief clouds the mind. So here's how to make it easier on yourself. Don't go through the papers alone. Ask someone you trust to sit beside you, a child, a friend, a neighbor, even a professional advisor. You don't have to know what you're doing. You just need support. Someone who can help you make a list, check things off, and gently keep track. Get a folder or box, something simple. Keep all the vital documents in one place. Make copies of the most important items. Write down account numbers, passwords if known, contact names. Even a short handwritten note that says, "This folder contains," can make the future less confusing, not just for you but for anyone who may help you later on. Grief isn't just emotional. It's also administrative. And that part, no one talks about. But it's real. It sneaks up on you. One unopened letter, one forgotten password at a time. But here's what matters most. This step is not cold. It is not heartless. It is part of loving well, by ensuring their legacy is cared for, not lost in a mess of forgotten drawers and locked accounts. You don't need to finish it all in one sitting. But you do need to begin. Because the act of organizing, even in sorrow, can bring a tiny sense of order. A small corner of calm. And when the world feels upside down, even that can be enough to help you stand a little taller. Remember, you are not doing this alone. And you don't have to carry every file, every form, every decision by yourself. This step is not just about documents. It's about giving yourself a little stability when so much feels uncertain. Start slowly. Be gentle with yourself. And know that with each paper you sort, each folder you create, you are not just doing paperwork. You are taking the first steps toward reclaiming your place in this new world, one page at a time. Step 4. Care for your body, even when your heart hurts. Grief doesn't just live in your heart. It lives in your bones, your stomach, your breath, your skin. When your spouse dies, the ache doesn't stay in one place. It moves through your whole being. And in those early days, taking care of yourself may feel like the last thing you can do. Meals go untouched. Sleep becomes broken and restless. The smallest tasks, brushing your teeth, changing your clothes, opening the blinds, feel strangely pointless. But this is precisely the time when caring for your health matters most. Because losing a spouse doesn't just shatter your routines, it shakes your whole body. And if you don't tend to it gently, grief can find ways to take deeper root. Many older adults who are grieving experience sudden weight loss or lack of appetite, fatigue that doesn't go away, trouble with digestion or sleep, muscle tension or chest tightness, memory slips and mental fog. These aren't random symptoms. They're the body's silent response to sorrow. And when left unaddressed, grief-related stress can weaken your immune system, raise your blood pressure, and even worsen chronic conditions like diabetes or heart disease. You don't need to follow a perfect wellness plan. You don't need to overhaul your diet or go to the gym. But you do need to offer your body the same kindness you'd offer a dear friend in pain. That means, eat something nourishing every few hours, even if it's small. A warm bowl of soup, a slice of fruit, a piece of toast. Move your body gently. A short walk, light stretching. Just enough to keep circulation flowing. Rest. Even if sleep is elusive, lie down. Let your body settle. Let it know it's safe to soften. These aren't just health tips. They are acts of survival. Small, steady signals to your body that it's still being cared for, even when your spirit feels shattered. Let me tell you about Eleanor. She's 79, and she lost her husband after 52 years together. In the weeks that followed, she forgot to eat. She skipped her medication without meaning to. She said, "I didn't feel hungry. I didn't feel like anything." It wasn't until she fainted in the grocery store that her daughter realized what was happening. Eleanor wasn't sick. She was grieving. And her body was trying to tell her it couldn't carry it all alone. Once they created a simple daily plan, meals, water, pills, and check-ins, Eleanor's strength slowly returned. Her thoughts became clearer. Her steps steadier. There's a quiet truth in grief counseling. When you don't know what to do, care for the animal in you. Feed it. Water it. Let it move. Let it rest. Because underneath your sorrow, your body is still here, still trying to find balance. And it needs your help. You may not feel like eating. Do it anyway. You may not feel like lying down. Try. You may not feel like changing clothes. It's okay, get dressed anyway. Not to pretend you're okay, but to slowly, gently rebuild your strength. One quiet choice at a time. And don't hesitate to call your doctor. Even if it's just stress. Even if you don't know what to say. Sometimes simply being seen and checked reminds you, I am still here. I am still worth caring for. Taking care of yourself is not a betrayal of your grief. It's not about forgetting your spouse. It's about not losing yourself in the process of loss. And that, dear one, is also an act of love. If this message touched your heart today, I invite you to take a gentle step. Leave a comment with the number 4 below. It lets me know you're here walking this path and finding strength one moment at a time. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell icon. These videos are created to support you, quietly, steadily, through life's hardest seasons. Your presence here means more than you know. We're not meant to go through grief alone. Let's walk forward together. Step 5. Be gentle with decisions, delay what you can. In the days and weeks after losing your spouse, a strange urgency can creep in. You may suddenly feel the need to change everything. To sell the house. To move closer to family. To give away their clothes, cancel memberships, change your accounts. To do something, anything, to escape the echoes of their absence. It makes sense. When your world feels unrecognizable, changing your surroundings can feel like the only way to take back control. But here's the quiet truth. Most big decisions made during early grief become regrets later. And not because they were wrong, just because they were rushed. When grief is fresh, your heart is tender. Your mind is foggy. You're navigating a storm while searching for solid ground. And it's easy to mistake motion for healing. Let's talk about Albert. He was 86 when he lost his wife suddenly to a stroke. Within 2 weeks, he packed up their home, the one they'd shared for decades, and moved into a small apartment near his son. He thought it would help him feel less alone. But once the dust settled, Albert realized he wasn't just grieving his wife, he was grieving his garden, his neighbors, the kitchen they'd remodeled together. The apartment was quieter than he expected. It didn't feel like his. And now the ache had doubled. This isn't to say you should never make changes. You might need to. One day. But in the early stages of grief, give yourself this permission. Pause. Wait. Breathe. You don't have to keep every photo up forever. But you don't have to take them down tomorrow either. You don't have to donate the clothes, close the account, or cancel the insurance today. You can let those decisions rest. And while they rest, you can rest too. If anyone pressures you, whether out of love or discomfort, just say gently, I'm not ready yet. I'll let you know when I am. That's not clinging to the past. That's allowing your emotions to catch up with your reality. Quick action might feel like relief in the moment, but often it leaves behind deeper wounds, ones you may not see until much later. This is especially true with financial decisions. Don't sign contracts, sell property, or change investments while your heart is still unraveling. If you must make decisions, do it with help. Find someone you trust, who isn't caught in the same grief. A calm friend, a wise relative, a financial advisor. Let them look things over with clearer eyes. Let them slow you down if needed, because the goal is not to avoid action forever. It's to make wise, steady choices, once your feet are more firmly beneath you. You've already been through one profound change. Don't multiply the loss by rushing into more. Wait for clarity. Let the fog lift. And when you're ready, you'll feel it, you'll know. You'll still carry the love. You'll still honor what you shared. But you'll move forward in a way that keeps the best of the past intact. And that, dear one, is how healing begins to lead you. Step 6. The quiet work of rebuilding who you are. When your spouse dies, the ache you feel isn't just about their absence. It's also about something much harder to name. The part of you that only existed beside them. You were part of a team, a rhythm, a shared language. Maybe you were John and Mary. Maybe you were simply us. But now, there is no we. And that shift runs deeper than any name or label. It reaches into your identity, your daily routines, your sense of purpose, even your place in the world. At first, it's hard to notice. You're busy. There's paperwork, visitors, decisions, survival. But eventually, in the stillness, a question rises from the quiet. Who am I now? Most people aren't prepared for this part of grief. We talk about loss, but we rarely talk about what's left behind inside you when the structure of your life changes overnight. The truth is, your love remains. It always will. But the role it played, the shape it lived in, has changed. And now you are left not just with memories, but with the tender, ongoing task of discovering who you are without the one who knew you best. Let me share Elaine's story. She was 72 when her husband passed after 42 years of marriage. In the beginning, she couldn't bring herself to change a thing. His slippers stayed by the door. His coffee mug remained on the counter. She couldn't imagine a world without we. But months later, quietly, gently, Elaine began to paint again. Something she hadn't done since her 20s. Not to distract herself. Not to fill the space. But to reconnect with a version of herself she had almost forgotten. It didn't mean she stopped loving him. It meant she remembered that she was still here. And she needed to live. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to become someone new, even while carrying every precious memory of who you were together. Rebuilding your identity after loss is not betrayal. It is one of the deepest forms of honoring, because it means the life you shared was strong enough to give you the courage to go on. Maybe this means joining a small group. Maybe it means going somewhere you've always dreamed of visiting. Maybe it's starting a journal, reading poetry, making new friends. Or maybe it's simply learning to sit with yourself in quiet and feeling peace there. These aren't replacements for love. They are responses to life. You don't have to figure it all out today. In fact, you won't. Who you are after loss is something you discover slowly, inch by inch, breath by breath. And every small moment of curiosity, every new habit, every brave yes to something different, is a step forward. You are not just who you were with your spouse. You are also who you are becoming without them. And that version of you? That version deserves gentleness, attention, and love, just as much as the one before. Step 7. Opening to life again, at your own pace. If you've made it through the first 6 steps, pausing to feel, reaching out, organizing essentials, protecting your health, resisting rush choices, and beginning to rediscover who you are, then you are already walking through grief with grace. But there's one more step. And it may take the longest of all. It's the step of opening to life again. Not out of duty. Not because others expect you to move on. But because quietly, somewhere deep within, you begin to sense that life, your life, is not finished yet. This step doesn't arrive with fanfare. It comes slowly. Maybe it shows up in a sunrise that takes your breath away. Or in laughter over coffee with someone who listens deeply. Maybe it stirs when music plays and your feet tap along, surprising you. It's a moment when you realize, I can still feel joy, even if I'm still carrying sorrow. It doesn't mean the grief is gone. It simply means love is stretching its arms again, making space for new things alongside what has been lost. Take Thomas, for example. He was 85 when his wife passed. After 2 years of quiet routine, one morning he signed up for a gardening class. Not because he needed something to do, but because he wanted to grow something again. Life, color, possibility. And when someone asked, "Isn't that hard without her?" he smiled and said, "It is. But I plant these because she would have loved them. And I stay for the joy I didn't expect." This is step 7. Letting life in again, not all at once, but slowly, intentionally, tenderly. You might go on a trip. You might say yes to a new friendship. You might simply walk in the park and feel the sun warm your shoulders. And you might think, this moment is mine. And it is good. You don't have to stop loving who you lost to live fully. Your heart is large enough to carry both memory and momentum, grief and gratitude. So take this step when you're ready, not to forget, but to remember who you are and who you're still becoming. Because even now, especially now, you are still allowed to hope. Final thoughts. This is not the end of your story. Losing your spouse cuts deeper than words can say. It doesn't just take away the person you love. It takes the rhythm out of your days, the warmth from your home, the comfort of being seen without ever needing to explain yourself. No one prepares you for that kind of silence. And truthfully, nothing ever quite fills it. But there are things, small, quiet, deeply human things, that can help you find your footing again. Even in the storm. Even with a broken heart. These steps we've walked through together. Feeling before fixing. Reaching out. Gathering important documents. Caring for your health. Resisting rushed decisions. Rebuilding your identity. And finally, choosing to open to life again. They're not rules. They're not requirements. They're anchors. Simple points of steadiness in a time when everything else feels unsure. None of these steps are easy. But each one matters. Each one honors both the life you lost and the life that remains. You don't have to walk this perfectly. You don't have to do it quickly. You don't even have to do it all at once. You just have to keep going. One breath. One memory. One small act of care at a time. And if you take just one thing from this entire video, let it be this. You are not alone. There are others, gentle, grieving souls just like you, who are quietly making their way through the same fog, the same tears, the same empty chair in the living room. They're not moving on. They're moving through. Grief doesn't mean your story is over. It means a new chapter has begun. One you never asked for. One you never wanted. But one that is still yours to write. And in that chapter, you get to decide what healing looks like. What love becomes. What life can still hold even after the word goodbye. So please, if this video has brought you even a moment of comfort, let us know. Leave a comment below. Share just one thing you're taking away from today, something you felt, something you remembered, or something you're ready to try. Reading your thoughts means the world to us. It reminds us that this space is real, that you are real, and that none of us are walking this path alone. If this message has helped you, I kindly invite you to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. Your support keeps this space alive, a place where healing has a voice and grief is met with gentleness. Thank you for spending time here today. Take all the time you need. We look forward to walking with you again in the next video. Until then, may you find moments of peace. May you feel the quiet courage rising within you. And may you always know, love doesn't end. It just changes form.